Hi, I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to the show. I'm Suzanne Lynn. Let me ask you, have you ever wondered what the source is, both politically and economically, with strife that's happening these days? Maybe you've thought about what a possible solution could be. It might be a daunting question that you're asking. Well, this book, it's an amazing book. I've been reading it. It's actually about small business. It's about a small businessman who had to navigate his way through to save his company. In essence, he is representing small business people in the United States. And I want to welcome you to the Snow Leopard and the Ibex. My guest is Douglas W. Farnell. Welcome, Douglas. I'm glad that you're here today.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Douglas, let's talk about the overall message of your book.
You bet. Primarily, the book, and now it's the revised edition of my book, actually, is about one small businessman's challenge and in facing the 2008 financial crisis. And let's just take a quick revisit of that crisis, which was this calamity that destroyed a couple million small businesses, had 8 to 10 million people laid off over a period of several years. Over 1 million mortgages were foreclosed, and it was the greatest economic tragedy to hit our country until, of course, we had the pandemic from this year. But it's a bit of a model for actually what we're going through right now. These the factors that popped out of the 2008 financial crisis have been mentioned several times in the media as having a fundamental accelerant of the income inequality in this country. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote that is of course the focus on the small business person who there's 25 million of them in our country. Is such an important part of our economy.
Doug, you are very focused in the book, as I'm reading through this, on emotional intelligence and intellectual intelligence. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Those are qualities that I've always admired in people, especially emotional intelligence. And as it turns out, my lead characters, Daniel Prescott, who is the entrepreneur of his own startup company in Seattle, of course, and also the woman that he admires. And the main reason, she's an extremely beautiful woman, but the main reason why he admires her is for what he notices in her is her high emotional intelligence, the component of which is that's very noticeable is her ability to understand her own needs and the needs of others.
It's amazing how this all ties in. The financial and the romantic side is all very well meshed together. You've done a great job with that.
Well, thank you.
So one of the things I wanted to touch on was talking about the shadow of ourself. I've never heard that referred to before, but discovering the shadow of yourself. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Suzanne. The shadow self is that part of ourselves, and we all have a shadow, all 300 million of us here in the US, we all have a shadow side. That is a part of us that really belongs to us, but is a part that's been separated from us at an early age, either because of the way we were brought up or some kind of extreme environmental aspects of where we grew up. And it's important for us to rediscover that shadow self so we can become the complete and whole person that we were, that we were meant to be. I have Daniel as the protagonist actually goes through this bit of a crisis in his early age, in his early teenage years, and he loses a certain portion of a certain aggressiveness in himself because he has made a break from the militaristic upbringing that he had from his father.
So much of this is insight for us to learn going forward financially. And I know that your heart is really small businesses, helping small businesses. What message do you have moving forward for small business?
Boy, that is a really good one. I wish that I could get that message out to a lot of people. But the main one would be Learn as much as you can about the financial options available to you so that you're not held hostage by either large customers or large financial entities that may be able to negatively influence your business. And the second thing that I would mention would be that during difficult times, including right now during the pandemic that we're experiencing in 2020 and 2021, is recognize that there still exists capabilities within ourselves to be able to successfully grow out of these challenges and attack those problems that come up.
One of the things that I noticed is that you count on small business helping small business. You believe in locking arms with each other. Can you
Yes,
speak to
I
that?
do. Yes, absolutely. Connections, networking, the ability to recognize that someone else that you're networking with may actually be able to positively contribute to your business in terms of references of new customers or maybe new systems and processes that you need in your own business. And so oftentimes you pick up those tips from other small business people like yourself.
Mm. And one of my favorite parts about the book is that there's a spirit of Douglas W. Farnell in there as far as the mountain climbing and some of the activities that are going on. Let's talk about this hiking.
Oh, yes. Well, hiking has been a pastime of mine for many years. And I actually moved to Seattle because of the enormous availability of hiking and climbing possibilities. And so I learned to do a lot of my hiking and climbing techniques with the mountaineers here in Seattle. And I had a chance to use those actually by climbing in other parts of the world, especially in the Alps, where I climbed a couple, 2 or 3 mountains, the Jungfrau, the Monk, and finally the Matterhorn. And I used that experience of climbing the Matterhorn actually in the story.
And you put that into the book.
I put that in the book.
I love that. The best way I can explain that is that there's a spirit of you in your book. Yeah. Doug, I know that you have a heart for teaching children. As we begin to wrap up the interview, what briefly would you say to a young soul thinking about going into business with the environment we're in today?
That's a really good question because, kids, especially nowadays, would have a tendency to be discouraged with anything. They're disconnected from even each other, their friends, because we have to go through all this remote learning. They aren't able to see their friends every day like, we're used to seeing them. And for about 6 years, I've actually been a volunteer instructor at a high school or at high schools here in Seattle in business and finance because I really want to encourage kids to develop an affinity for that discipline because in my opinion, that sets the stage and is a very, very fertile ground for them to learn additional things by understanding some of the complexities of business.
Cannot recommend this book enough. It is the Snow Leopard and the Ibex. Pick it up, and I'm going to recommend that you give Doug an honest review on it. Reviews really go a long way. They help out the author on so many levels. So thank you, Doug, for joining us, and we'll revisit you next time around because I think there's going to be a second book to this, isn't there?
Thank you, Suzanne. Yes, there will be.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Have a great day.
Thank you.